We- Hello, everyone. Welcome. We are so glad that you're able to join us today for our webinar with the Temple Family Council, Off-Campus Housing, and Public Safety. If you'd like to let us know who you are, where you are joining us from, and how your students' experience at Temple has been so far, we would love for you to do so by putting it in the chat feature. We're going to wait a few moments before we officially start the webinar to allow folks to join us and enter information into the chat. So just stand by and we'll officially start in just a moment. If you are just joining us, welcome to our webinar on Navigating Temple Together, a Q&A for parents and family members with the Temple Family Council, Off-Campus Housing, and Public Safety. We would love to know more about you and your student, so please look at the information on your screen and write in the chat. We'd love to meet you. We're going to allow a few moments before we officially get started to let everyone join us and enter their information in the chat feature. As you're waiting to get started, please feel free to enter information into the chat feature. Let us know your name, where you're coming from, like where you call home, and then how your students' experience at Temple has been so far. And we'll just get started in a moment. Okay. So hello and welcome to the Temple Family Council webinar, Navigating Temple Together, a Q&A for families with peers, the Temple Off-Campus Housing Office, and Public Safety Department. My name is Brandy Jericho Beach, and I am the Parent Family Programs Coordinator for the Office of New Student and Family Programs here at Temple University. We're so glad that you decided to join us today, and we would love to know more about everyone who's with us, so please make sure to introduce yourself in the chat. Let us know your name, where you're joining us from, also where you call home, and how your students' experience at Temple has been so far. We have enabled closed captionings for this session. To view the captions, please click Captions, then select Show Captions. This session is being recorded and the slides and links will be shared out after today on the Parent and Family Experience portal. Today's panelists are representatives from the Temple Family Council, Temple's Off-Campus Housing Office, and Temple's Public Safety Department. We're going to start by having them share a brief introduction of themselves before we move into their presentations. Following their presentations, we'll have a question and answer session for the remainder of our time together. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen so you can see all of our panelists today.
All right. I'm happy to hop in first. I'm Leah Paulson Dunmeyer. I oversee off-campus living at Temple. I've been here for coming up on 4 years, and I'm excited to chat with y'all today.
Hi there, I'm Donna Gray from Public Safety, and I can honestly say that I came to Temple many years ago and for whatever reason have never left and just feel that Temple is home. So hopefully you feel the same way as I do.
And our family council members?
Hi, I'm Jean Bishop, and I am in Chicago, Illinois. I have a son, Stephen, who is a junior there at Temple. He's rowing on the men's crew team, and he is in the College of Education and Human Development and loving it.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Geiter, and I am calling in or sitting in Delaware. My daughter Paige is a freshman. She's a psychology major. And this is my first year on the Temple Family Council.
Hi, I'm Joy Allen, and I'm in Princeton, New Jersey. My son Charlie is a junior, and he transferred into Temple this year, so this is his first year. He's a jazz studies performance major. It's my first year on the council, and it's a great experience. Charlie lives in Center City.
Thank you all so much for introducing yourselves. And thank you to all of our attendees for introducing yourselves in the chat feature. We have folks from all over the area. I see New York, a lot of different Pennsylvania areas. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. Okay. As you can see, today's panelists are representatives from the Temple Family Council, Temple's Off-Campus Housing, and Temple's Public Safety Department, and they're here to answer your questions. So we will get started with our presentations first and then Q&A in a moment, but there are a few announcements I'd like to share. You've likely noticed that your audio and video are muted, and you can see and hear us, but we can't see and hear you. Please submit your questions by using the Q&A feature. You click the Q&A button to open the window, type your question in the text field, and if you want your question to be anonymous, you can click the Send Anonymously button. Click Send then afterwards. Questions will be answered in the order they're received as best as we can, and your question will not be viewed by the rest of the participants until it's been answered. We will share helpful links related to the questions that have been asked in the chat, so make sure to check the chat throughout the panel. We'll do our very best to answer as many questions as we can today, and if we're unable to answer all of your questions, we'll provide contact information at the end for you to follow up with the appropriate campus partner for your specific question. If you have questions unrelated to Temple off-campus housing, for the Temple Family Council, or public safety, we'll do our best to assist you. Okay, now I'd like to start with an introduction of the Temple Family Council.
So it's Jean Bishop, and this is a kind of an overview of what the Temple Family Council does. It has just been such a great experience because it really fosters communication between us, the families of the students, and the administration at Temple. It's just been great where it's our opportunity to give feedback and ask questions about issues that are important to us. It's been a great ability to kind of bring the families together from all these different parts of the country. And one of the things that we do that's really wonderful is that we serve as volunteers at events at the campus, like the parent-family orientation, the homecoming and family weekend. I can just tell you that it's been great being part of the council because you get to meet such a diverse range of people with kids in all different, parts of the school. And it's just been a wonderful way to feel more a part of the Temple family.
Thank you, Jean. Okay, now we're off to off-campus living.
Awesome. So, yeah, these are really our main goals in off-campus living at Temple. So our department it's pretty new. We've only been around for about a year and a half, but off-campus living and supporting students living off-campus has been a practice at Temple for about a decade. We've had like an off-campus website and all of those things, but it's kind of grown and is continuing to grow because we have about 80% of Temple students live off-campus. Yeah, it's a huge population of students, and our number one goal is to keep students feeling connected to campus once they move off campus. So just because someone is living 2 blocks away doesn't mean that they are any less a Temple student than someone that's living in a residence hall. So we just want to make sure that students know that all of Temple's resources are available to them. We really try to be a hub to connect people with the right folks that are able to help them with questions they have. And like I mentioned, we have an off-campus housing website that has a listing service, so helping students navigate the market. Like, we're in an urban area, it can be overwhelming. There's so many options. And so, yeah, we try to help students navigate that, whether they're transitioning from on to off-campus housing, have questions, experience issues off-campus. That's kind of our top priority. We also hope to educate students on how to prioritize their own safety and the safety of the folks around them. So Donna's area and public safety, they are like number one in doing this, of course, but we have a little hand in it too. We have a Best Nest Landlord self-certification program that I'm happy to answer additional questions about, but that basically, we have properties submit a bunch of documentation that shows that they're kind of going above and beyond to promote safety in their properties. So they send us pictures of exterior lighting, and they have video cameras exterior to their properties that they can retrieve footage from and other things like that. So we try to do our best to educate and give students all of the options and as much information as possible to make an informed decision about where they want to live. And lastly, we want to support students in how to be like respectful and engaged community members. So one of the top ways that we do this is we have a Good Neighbor initiative at Temple that's been around since 2011. So that includes a Good Neighbor policy that's actually part of the student code of conduct. It's kind of linked out in there. And this committee is a group of students and staff members from across campus that meet to talk about how we can make good neighbors of Temple students, staff, everybody to our community, since we have long-term residents living, right around campus. And a lot of our students are living, maybe next door to someone who's been there for 30 years. So how can we help them be good neighbors and, report issues that they see and things like that. So yeah, just a little synopsis. I have a couple like resource slides at the end too if specific questions come up, and I'm happy to kind of answer everything. But this is just a little entree into what we do in off-campus living.
Great. Thank you so much, Leah. Okay, Donna.
So everybody sort of has a sense of safety, and what's important for people to know is that safety is our priority. And the way that we best can do what we need to do is to recognize services and support that we offer. So one of the important things is we're here 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Not me personally, but definitely folks in our department doing what needs to be done. I think in some regards, as people talk and think about moving off campus, it's important to realize that we work with the Philadelphia Police Department, SEPTA Police, and other law enforcement entities. It's not something, safety is not something that we can do alone. We really need to cultivate and develop teams and have effective communication so that we can keep everybody safe. We also promote safety initiatives with local businesses and, as Leah mentioned, the long-term community members. We want to make sure that we're addressing their needs as well as helping students to recognize what it is to be responsible members of our community. I would also sort of say, when you think about the off-campus experience, you have to sort of think about safety on the move. So I think of things as Destination Temple. So we have our patrol boundaries, and people may be familiar with our patrol map, but the whole thing is to recognize that it's a partnership with the city of Philadelphia. So just as you can't plant your geraniums in your neighbor's garden, we need to be respectful of the entities around us and make sure that we're sharing resources and communication in the most effective ways. So as students look towards moving off campus, that patrol map becomes really important because within our patrol boundaries, we have our walking escort program that can guide students back and forth to and from campus. And we also have our shuttle services, which is available in the evening. So one of the things that I'm really happy to report is that in terms of our shuttle service, we have constantly expanded that service to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our students in the most effective and timely way as possible. So, in this digital age of technology, we really want to emphasize for students that they can have safety at their fingertips. So we have our TU Safe app, and I'm happy to say that it's not just one of those things that we've launched and sort of said, this is great, we don't need to do more. We're always doing more. So one of the things that we did add as a resource is health and well-being, because we know that as students move away from campus, they are doing more and more to be independent, but they also don't have the immediacy of the services that they might need. So we want to make sure that they have that at their disposal. Also, we want to be responsive to our parents and our parents' needs. So although we have our TU alerts and everybody needs to be aware of that, we also have a mechanism for parents to sign up and get that information as well. So parents can sign up for the alerts by texting TU alert to 67283. And we really, really appreciate that, because one of the things that I often say when I do orientation is we don't want you staying up till 3 a.m. to find out what's going on. Now you have that ability to sort of see what the texts are and, then connect with your students. So.
Great. Thank you so much, Donna.
And one of the things that I will say in terms of last but not least is that we do offer some programming in the community. So we believe in the Welcome Wagon, which is a longstanding program where we go and we make sure that students know what they need to do to be responsive. And we encourage students to program our number in, but also to check out our website as things develop and new information is available. So thanks, Brandy.
Thank you. Okay, now it's time for our panelists to answer your questions. Let me stop sharing here. Okay, so it's time for your questions to be answered. Please post any questions you have in the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen, and we will do our best to answer anything that is on your mind about off-campus housing and about public safety with regard to off-campus housing. So make sure you use that Q&A feature. One of our first questions is for Leah, and they were wondering if you help students with leases, and if so, is one of the services you provide to help a student break the lease if they need to?
That is a great question. So we do not have legal professionals in our office, but we have a law student organization at Temple who started a landlord-tenant help service, and lease review is one of the things that they do. So on our website, under the university resources page, there is a direct link. It's like landlord-tenant help service, and you can sign up for a Zoom meeting. They have walk-in hours that are in our student center. So they are the best people to review leases. Obviously, we know generically, like we can educate on terminology and things to look out for in leases, but if you want someone to specifically review with you, they're definitely the best folks to get in touch with. And as far as breaking leases, we aren't able to like intervene in things like that since it is a contract between a student and an off-campus property. But if you think that you're like not being treated fairly, if a student or family member thinks that like a property manager isn't being responsive or you know, are just generally having issues, we're happy to like help advise. And that landlord tenant help service too, they've done a lot of really great work with students who you know, are looking for the specific like terms in their lease about either breaking it or whether they can sublet or relet and things like that. A lot of landlords do allow for subletting and reletting, so they'll a lot of times opt for you to find a sublet versus like straight out breaking a lease. But yeah, so that student organization, they're advised by attorneys as well. So they're really a great resource for a lot of those particulars.
Great, thank you, Leah. We have another question, and you just touched on it a little bit. The student is looking to live off campus, but they do have plans to study abroad for one of the semesters. So how should they navigate that? Should they sublet? Would you recommend that? What are your thoughts about someone who would be away for part of their lease contract?
Yeah, that's a great question. There are a couple different options that you could do. A lot of our properties actually offer short-term leases, not all of them, but they will do like a semester lease or an academic year lease. And there's a way to filter on our listing service for properties that do short-term leases. So I would definitely recommend looking into that. And on the website, you can message as many properties as you want, and you can like ask them, like, would you do just a one semester lease? And so that would probably be the best way to do it, because then you're not liable at all for while you're not here. But there also is on our site, students have the ability to sublet a unit as well. So they could do that if they, you know, are going to be here in the fall, studying abroad for spring. We're also trying to like start sending a lot more information to our study abroad partners and folks in global programs to see if we can do a better job of connecting students who are studying abroad in fall with students who are studying abroad in spring, and seeing if there's any way like folks can take over each other's leases and stuff like that. So that's something we're working on specifically for study abroad students. It doesn't exist yet, but got, you know, 6 months or so until the next round of transition between spring and fall study abroad. So hoping to kind of get some more of that information out there and try to connect students if they do end up signing a year lease and wanting to sublet, trying to get them connected to each other.
Great, thank you. Donna, this next question is for you. They were wondering if public safety patrols where all off-campus housing is located for students.
We don't patrol all, we only patrol what's within our patrol boundaries. So that's an important distinction. So when students are looking at off-campus properties, it's important to sort of look at our patrol map and figure out, to make sure that it's within those boundaries.
Great, thank you. So another question is that most landlords, do they accept students as the renter, or do parents have to co-sign? And maybe if any of our TFC members, if you've also had this experience as well, if you know, but I know, Leah, you probably know as well from a department standpoint.
Yeah, I can share, and then happy to have the families share some of their like personal experiences too. But a lot of the properties, so it is individual, like they're all run by, like we don't kind of manage any of their individual terms or anything like that. So it will vary by property, but a lot of our properties do require a co-signer, but a lot of them also accept the LEAP program, if you haven't heard of it. So it's basically where like this LEAP program will act as the cosigner or guarantor for a student if they're paying independently or don't necessarily have someone who qualifies as a cosigner. They basically just have to like fill out a bit of information, pay like, I think it's like a $50 one-time fee, and then they will take on the like liability of being the cosigner. So we have information about that on our website too, but that's a resource that students have been using more and more. And most of the properties in the area will accept that. They don't like have to, but a lot of them do if someone doesn't have a cosigner.
Hi, this is Stephanie. I'll just jump in. So my daughter's a freshman going to be living off campus in the fall, and we did have to go through that process where I have to be the cosigner or the guarantor for her. But she has an independent contract or lease agreement. So even though she's a roommate, it's strictly with her. So that gave me a little peace of mind.
That's exactly the same situation for us. I co-signed my son's portion of a lease, but the lease is written out so that each of the people in the house, like it's specified what that person pays per month for rent.
Yeah, and for my son who shares a house with 4 other people, we didn't need to co-sign at all. And the rent was divided up by the size of the room because some rooms were larger than others. And so each, signed up to pay their individual part of the rent.
Great, thank you. Another question about how do folks find off-campus housing? Is there a central location online where folks can find housing that's offered?
Yes. So we manage a website that's just offcampus.temple.edu. Obviously, there's tons of different search engines, but our off-campus website, we actually partner with the university subsidiary of apartments.com. They're called Off-Campus Partners. So they have like access to basically anybody who has an apartments.com listing could, if they wanted to, opt to list also for universities. And so all of the universities in Philly, so Penn, Drexel, St. Joe's, we all partner with this one, vendor. So there are actually listings in like all the different parts of the city, but a ton centered around Temple. And we are the only university in the city that requires all properties that list on our site to provide us with a rental license, because that has to be renewed every single year. And they have to basically work with the city of Philadelphia to make sure they meet like the bare minimum requirements to rent to anyone. And so we feel good about just having that like barrier for entry on our site versus just any other site you might use. And there's of course resources and things like that on our site, and it kind of looks like a Zillow or Airbnb map. You can like filter by all different things like price range, number of bedrooms. Our Best Nest program, you can search just for those properties that have kind of done those above and beyond safety things. So that's where we try to direct everyone. Of course, there's going to be a million other ways you could find housing, and there's Facebook groups and all these things, but we don't run any of them. So we don't recommend just any old Joe saying, I have a room to rent. Like, maybe double check that they're legit before doing that. So.
Yeah, and I would just like to add, I'm sorry, to Leah's comment is my daughter went on the website to start her search. As a parent, I just piggybacked, where are you looking? And I, Googled that location. And the reassuring thing that I found was they do have the reference to either the Temple Partner, the Diamond Program, the Best Nest Program. So that was really, like I said, assuring and comforting as a parent to be able to recognize that on that website as well.
Great. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Leah. Leah, how do parents, families, and students find who's part of the Best Nest program?
Yes, there are a couple different ways. So one is you can filter on that listing map. So on the website that Brandon shared in the chat, if you click on housing at the top or view rentals, there's a couple ways to get there. If you get to the map version, at the top, there's a more drop down and there's a community feature section and you click Temple Best Nest Certified. So that is all of the properties who have like an active available listing. There are a couple like row home style properties that are part of the program as well. And when they fill up, they might like take their listing off, but they're still certified. So we have a running list as well on our Best Nest like resource page, which is either in resources or just from our homepage. It's one of the like 4 icons. We just keep it as like a highlight that you can get there. And if you scroll down, it's every single property that's currently certified. And they have to renew every year. So everybody that is on there now is certified for the rest of 2025. And it'll be rolling. So there'll continue to be names like added to it as folks go through that.
Great. So we have someone who's asking how parents and family members can navigate when students have no housing options and need roommates. Does Temple support this need due to limited housing options for returning students, or do you find that this is something that your office is able to provide support with?
Oh, yes. So right now, Off-Campus Living actually lives under the university housing umbrella. That won't be for much longer. We're actually transitioning, but we have great relationships with the on-campus housing folks. And as it sounds like you're mentioning, the on-campus housing was limited or filled up pretty quickly for returning students, which it did. And there are still a bunch of students like on the wait list. And so on-campus housing has sent out information for our office. Just if people don't want to like wait around and see if something becomes available on campus, which they're more than welcome to do. Obviously living on campus is awesome. But if they want to secure something now, they gave our contact information so students can come to our office or shoot us an email. We monitor our email. I have a grad assistant and myself that are the ones responding to every email that comes in on the offcampus@temple.edu email. And so we can definitely assist. We've actually had a lot of students just walk into the office wanting to talk through what their options are because they had hoped to live on campus and weren't able to. So we're definitely happy to help in that process. So hopefully that answered the question.
And there may also be some of the apartments or locations that offer that where my daughter's going. It's the Avery. And they do have a roommate matching program to assist with that. So there may be an opportunity available with the location that they might be going.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
sorry, Brandy. I was just gonna add, yeah, a lot of the big properties like the Avery do have their own roommate matching available. So all of those big ones that have like the Avery has like 700 students that live there. So they offer stuff like that at some of those bigger properties. And we also on our website have a roommates page. So students can search for roommates and they have to log in with their Temple account to log in. So their information isn't like public. I know there's also a lot of like Facebook groups and things like that where students search for roommates, which is also totally fine. But I like to keep my business private. So I like that they have to sign in order to view that, but they can search for roommates. And so there are like 5 or 6 pages right now of people actively looking for roommates. So probably like 100+ students that post in there and say like, hey, I have an apartment for next year. I'm looking for additional roommates, or like, I haven't secured something yet, looking for people. And you can message back and forth on there too. If students wanted, like they weren't sure where they wanted to live, but wanted to look for roommates, they could do that avenue as well.
That's great, Leah. Thank you. The next parent has a question about her student had their student had a falling out with friends that they've signed a lease with, and now the student wants to get out of the lease. Do you have any advice for a situation such as that?
That's tough. When I was a student, didn't experience the exact same thing, but I signed a lease for my senior year at the beginning of my sophomore year, and things just change in 2 years. So I didn't go to Temple, but it was a very competitive market where I went. But I would recommend a lot of landlords. I can't speak for every single one, but if you find someone to replace you on the lease, they typically will allow you to like transfer the lease. They often won't let you just kind of like back out. So if you're not super cordial with those folks, if they want to choose somebody, or if you have someone that could take it over for you, you'd have to work directly with the landlord on that. And if you like had questions about navigating that, we're happy to like talk a little bit with you about that. And if you like wanted to talk more through like whether your lease allows for that, there's that like landlord tenant help service too. But I would say in almost every case that I've heard, if you find someone to take over the lease for you, they will be willing to allow you to do that.
That was definitely the experience that my son's house had. So he is with 4 other guys from his rowing team, and one guy ended up transferring schools. And so it was not a falling out. It was just, he was transferring in junior year to a different college. And the landlord was completely happy to just have, the guys pick another guy, to fill in.
Great, thank you. Donna, this question is for you. We have a family member who's wondering if public safety is working to increase safety measures in the patrol boundaries, specifically where off-campus housing is offered.
So we have had a number of initiatives that we've launched. It's hard to say that, when we talk about within the patrol boundaries, yes, we have increased our technology in terms of our code blue emergency phones. We have increased lighting. We're constantly doing those things. I would sort of say that one of the things that I think is helpful, regardless of where students are in the patrol boundary, is the use of the TU Safe app. One of the things that students will sometimes sort of say is that they will utilize services such as I can't even think of it now, but the city's reporting mechanism. And one of the things is that that's not, always vetted. So we really encourage people to utilize that, so that one of the ways that we can find out information and send out the alerts and keep people safe is through that technology. So I would sort of say all of that is working together. Certainly, we have the ability through our connection with Allied Universal to have more security. And there have been times when we have increased our security presence just to sort of ensure safety. So we're constantly responding to that feedback that we're getting. And one of those things that I just think is really, really important is for students to sort of think about themselves and the community as a whole, and make us aware of situations as quickly as possible.
Great, thank you. A family member is wondering if there is a person with legal advice that can help their student talk about their lease if they have an issue with a landlord.
Yeah, that's what I would refer to. Actually, I had and I think Brandy is going to send out the like presentation after too. Is that right? So I had 2 like resource slides at the end that I didn't show. I didn't want to get too in the weeds, like in the little intro. But there is a slide that's like what to do if you're having issues. And so I have a couple different like reporting avenues on there. The information about the landlord tenant help service, which is kind of my #1 go-to that folks start at. But there's also some local organizations, community legal services, and the tenant union representative network called Turn. And so they also offer free legal advice. So those are just a bunch of resources that I usually refer folks to if they have any sort of legal concern.
Would you like me to share that slide right now, Leah?
Sure, just as a quick, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, and in my son's house, we really lucked out in that one of the parents of one of the other guys in the house was a real estate expert. And so we kind of, had him be our troubleshooter, looking at things, and he had all kind of great observations and negotiations that he made in the lease. So one thing you could do is if your child is sharing a place with other people, see if the parents can be a resource as well.
That's great. Thank you so much. Okay. One of our next questions is, are there, Donna, you mentioned resources at the beginning, but could you reiterate again resources that are available to help keep students safe as they're living off campus?
So I think one of the important things is just to be thinking along the lines of traveling to and from campus. So I would sort of say if students are going to be using public transportation, SEPTA has an app, and certainly on all the forms of transportation, there's SEPTA has their own police, and so they are a good resource in terms of navigating walking to and from campus. I would sort of say there's the walking escort program. And one of the things about that is that sometimes students will utilize that to have an escort walk them to the subway or to the regional rail. So, there's that extra set of attention as they're traversing the area. We also have shuttle service, which is available daily from 6 p.m. until 2 a.m. And so that gets students very much around the campus. And I would say another resource that students will utilize is just the buddy system. Students are really good at being aware of each other's schedules and providing that additional support. So.
Great, thank you, Donna.
The other thing, I'm sorry, that I would offer is that, when I say that we work closely with the Philadelphia police, I don't want people to sort of have an impression that there's this invisible line that we don't cross, because that's not accurate. The truth of the matter is that we have supplemental patrols with the Philadelphia police. We have a memorandum of understanding. So we're sharing the same technology. We're sharing a lot of the resources. And I think that goes a long way to sort of help people to feel comfortable and safe. So I would definitely say that that's a plus.
Great, thank you. We have someone wondering about the TU Move program. Leah, could you explain what TU Move is and whether or not they go to the larger properties such as Vantage and the View?
I would love to. I just had a meeting about TU Move this morning, so it's fresh on my mind. But yeah, so TU Move is a collaboration with a lot of the folks that are on that Good Neighbor initiative group that I talked about earlier. So it is our off-campus move out program. And so it was started, this will be the third year that it's been in existence, but it was basically in response to a lot of feedback from neighbors about how much trash there is during move out, particularly on the hot student blocks where a lot of students are living amongst community members. And obviously there's just an increased volume of trash during move out. And so initially it was created. And so we have, and there's information on our website. I can share the exact page. I think there's an easy way to get to it, like temple.tumove.com or something like that too. But it has all the information about the dates. So it runs for 2 weeks in May, right after graduation, a week in June, and then basically the whole period from mid-July to mid-August, because that's a big lease turnover time. And so during those timeframes, there are additional dumpsters in 4 different locations that are very close to a lot of where students are living. And there's also trucks that our facilities folks have running around between 8 and 4 every single weekday during those programs. And so students can sign up for a time to get their trash picked up from their house or wherever they're living off campus. And the only caveat, I know someone asked about some of the bigger properties like View, Vantage, I think somebody said, is they have their own trash removal situation. So during move out, they'll communicate with you, they have their own dumpsters and things like that. Because a lot of these are for some of those locations that don't have Vantage has, 800 plus beds. So they have staff that are working on kind of their own move out operation. So this is a lot for the students that are not living in those bigger ones. Not that they couldn't participate if they wanted to either bring stuff to a different dumpster or things like that. But yeah, so it runs for all of those amounts of time students can sign up to get their stuff picked up. If they don't sign up, our trucks won't pass by trash. If they pass it, they will also pick it up. And this year we're actually partnering with Habitat for Humanity. And so they are doing a first round to see if anything could be reused and donated to sell in their restore operation. So if there's a couch that's still in good condition and things like that. So students can also tag furniture to be donated versus trash to try to reduce some of that waste. So yeah, that's just a change to the program this year, but generally still the same.
Great, thank you. Donna, we had a parent ask again about the TU alert. Do you mind if I share that slide again, and if you can explain it to them again? And then also we had a family member asking if they are an international parent or family member, if they can also sign up for TU alerts.
So the important thing to understand about the TU alert is that it's our basic notification system. So it is contingent upon people making us aware that there's an incident. They will report that. We get that in our communication center. Our communication center would then dispatch officers to assess the situation and confirm the information. And then we would send out the alert so that it's a process. And the alerts are largely for things that are happening within our patrol boundaries or immediately adjacent to the campus. So oftentimes what the alerts will say is that there's something that's happening at a specific location, avoid the area. Because some of what sometimes happens is people become aware of something and they become lookaloos and they want to go down and they want to see what's going on. And that very much interferes with the ability to restore safety in that area. So that would be the importance of the alert. Yes, anyone can sign up for an alert. So even if you are international, you can, text and get that alert sent to you, which I think is a really useful way to stay on top of what's happening in and around the campus. Thanks,
Great, thank you
Brandy.
so much. Absolutely.
Brandy, I'll just say that my son does get the TU alerts on his cell phone, but I think he also uses one of those apps that Donna mentioned. He loves the app Citizen, which reports on police activity in the area. And he is coming from Center City, so he does have a little bit of a longer commute, and he finds that really helpful.
That's great to know. Thank you, Joy. Okay, Leah, does Temple recommend any moving or storage companies?
We don't have any solidified partnerships with any. There is on our website, since like I said, our partner for the website is runbyapartments.com. So they have some resources that we've linked for looking for different storage options in the area. And there's also a storage facility. I can't remember if it's Extra Space or Secure Space that's only a couple blocks away from campus. So I know that has worked for some students. And then as far as moving companies, we don't have any partnerships, but I know there are tons available in the city. So for sure, if you were looking to, especially if, you're furnishing your own apartment and might need additional support than like one van, that could be a good option. And I saw too, there was a follow-up question I would just touch on really briefly about the trash being not just a move out problem, but a kind of all the time problem on one of the blocks where somebody put in the chat that their student lives. So just wanted to address too. So on that little reporting slide, we encourage students to use the 311 app. There's an app and you can also submit 311 reports online. So that's Philadelphia's reporting for anything. And that includes illegal dumping, which we would consider if someone's dumping outside of their trash days and putting stuff on the streets or in a vacant lot or something like that. You can report that through 311 and the city will respond. So that's kind of the way that we have asked students to kind of advocate for themselves in that situation. As far as Temple as a whole, I know that our community affairs office has really good relationships with all of the local council people and is always trying to kind of respond to things like that. So I know they do really great work in that area and are always trying to, find solutions, because we know that, move out is the hottest time for those large amounts of trash, but it can be an issue kind of consistently.
Great, thank you. And then another question about leases. They were wondering if all leases start in the same time period, like every fall, or can they vary, and do they all last for 12 months? Or do they follow the academic calendar?
That is a great question. So almost all of the leases that do full year. So most standard leases in Philadelphia are for a full year, and for the properties surrounding Temple, most of them are August 1st to like July 26th or somewhere around those dates. But there are a lot of properties in the area that will offer 9 or 10-month leases, so basically academic year or short term. Like I mentioned, for the like study abroad situation, some of them will let you sign for just a semester. Obviously, they would prefer to lock you in for the whole year, but there are some options, and you can filter to search that way on our listing service too to see if anybody offers short-term or kind of academic year. Because I know on-campus housing is obviously so convenient because it's just for while classes are in session, but most of the off-campus leases do go for a whole year.
Great, thank you. We have another person asking if there's a complaint system for landlord feedback, and is that something that your office shares out with folks?
Oh, great question. So we share that information internally. We don't like post the complaints that we receive, and we don't have like, and maybe this is something we could look into to make like a kind of complaint form, but we do like to hear it directly from people rather than anonymously so we can follow up and make sure that we're like resolving issues that are happening. So we do have a tracking system for every single complaint that comes into our office. Obviously, folks might complain, like submit complaints to other folks around campus, but anything that comes to off-campus living, we have documented and we'll share with landlords and not include names. Usually we like aggregate feedback and say like, hey, we heard this, you know, information about a property that you manage or about your building. Or if someone is not being responsive, we're able to like usually connect someone directly with a landlord. So we don't publish what folks are, especially for privacy reasons. Like if someone is complaining about, you know, something specific, we don't want to like put anybody on blast if they're sharing a personal situation that they're having at their property. But we do keep track of all of it, and we do follow up with the landlords with anything that we receive.
So when my son and his teammates from the rowing team were looking for the house, they identified a house on Carlisle that was perfect. It had 5 bedrooms, 2 baths. It had a little backyard. You know, it was just in a very safe street within the campus zone. And so I went to a regatta, and it was a Saturday, and I thought, well, I'm just going to go to the house and knock on the door and see if I can talk to anybody who's living there now to see like, how's this landlord? And it totally worked. The guy showed me around the house. It was so great. It was so reassuring to me to see how beautiful the house was, how safe the area was. And then they told me, you know, the landlord Abdul is great. If there's anything broken, he's right on it. He comes to fix it. We asked if we could repaint some of the rooms. He said, sure, go ahead. So it was really reassuring to hear from whoever's occupying before you are moving into that space.
I will say too that students can leave reviews on our website. They don't do it too often on our website because it has them signed in, so it can't be anonymous. But there are also anonymous ways that students can share feedback. There's actually it's not sponsored in any way by Temple, but it was actually created by a Temple alum. It's like a Who's Your Landlord website. It's kind of like Rate Your Professor, but for landlords. So even if you just Google like a landlord or something, you'll probably see if there's any feedback out there, or if you Google an address, people leave Google reviews. So sometimes that is a good way because people can do that anonymously, and a lot of times, I mean, which is also hard to say like whether it's always accurate if someone's sharing anonymous information, but can sometimes be a place to look if you wanted to get some more context on people's experiences there.
It's great to know. So another question is, somebody was wondering if they should steer their student away from renting with a landlord who isn't in the Best Nest program.
Could you repeat the first part of that, Brandy? Sorry.
Sure. No, they were just wondering if they should steer their student away from renting with a landlord who isn't part of the Best Nest program.
So I wouldn't say you necessarily have to steer away. So I will say one of the prerequisites for even being considered for the Best Nest program is that a property's in the patrol zone. So there are some people that are kind of like disqualified immediately from that, but might have a perfectly great apartment or whatever it is. But yeah, so we tend to, the Best Nest program is really like an information source. Like we just want you to make the most educated decision possible about your where you're going to live. So I would say anybody that is listed on our like official off-campus website at least has their rental license and things like that. So even if they're not a Best Nest certified property, we know that they are doing some things right, which can't be said for everybody that is publishing a property, like just on the internet in general. So really anybody on our site is someone we've at least like bare minimum vetted. So I would say that is like a great place to start. And our Best Nest properties really are the ones that are kind of going above and beyond in those areas. But I wouldn't say you necessarily like there's nothing necessarily wrong with properties that aren't certifying. It is a couple extra steps for them. We ask them for a lot of documentation, which is why I think the program is great, because those people really did take some time to like take photos of all these things, submit documentation and all of that. But it can be cumbersome for some people. So it might be, might deter them from wanting to do it, but we're still trying to get as many properties as possible to do that, because we really want students to live in places where landlords and property managers care about their safety. So
Thank you. I have a question for all of our panelists. Do you have any words of wisdom that you would like to share with parents and families on off-campus housing and safety that you just maybe want to reiterate, or that you haven't yet shared? Just your piece of advice or words of wisdom you'd love to leave folks with today.
I'll go. Let's see. I think as far as safety goes, I know Charlie makes a point of walking with purpose whenever he's commuting, right? Like, and a lot of those times are late at night after rehearsal on campus. And that's just to be aware of your surroundings and sort of like not buried in your headphones kind of thing, right? So you're just always portraying that you know what's going on and you're sort of like on top of it. And then from my own experience, I kind of had the same, type of thing happen to me, as Leah had when I was living off campus as a student. And just to reiterate how important it is for your students, if they are in a roommate situation off campus, to try to not let small issues fester and become large issues. Like communication between roommates is really important, because you will get into a situation, you could get into a situation where you do have to like break a lease, and that's just not fun. And so any support, I guess, that you can give your student in just communicating and resolving conflicts as they arise, big or small, that's really important.
I would just say, research. Go, find out about the neighborhood, the street, the landlord. Go there in person, get a feel for what the vibe is. How, one of the things I loved about the street that my son lives on, Carlisle, is it's just lit up with bright lights all the time. It's never dark on that street, ever. So it's just, small things like that. And do the same kind of research for, the people that you're going to be living with. Is this, are these responsible people? I loved meeting and talking to their parents. So really just, know as much as you can before you commit to a location where your child is going to live.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I mean, look at as many locations as possible. My daughter went to several, a couple of different friends went with her at different times. We were actually, my husband and I, able to sit on a remote tour. So they took their tablet and walked around so we could see it. My daughter took some pictures and videos, but there's so many different offerings as well. I mean, different amenities, things that may or may not be included. They may have a special where they're waiving fees. So there's so many differences with, price points and what's included, what's not included. But at the end of the day, we went with what my daughter felt was, comfortable and safe for her. And fortunately, it's still within the boundaries. So that adds, an extra added layer of confidence for us. So yeah, so just encourage your child as well to look into the things and everything that everybody else has already said. Be aware of your surroundings and have a buddy system. Utilize all of the services that are available to them, whether it's the shuttle, whether it's the walking escort, all those things are there to assist them. So
I, of course, would agree with everything that's been said, but here's my tip, honestly. Trust your gut. Sometimes if something doesn't feel right for you, even if all your friends are gung-ho about it, it's not for you. And it's okay to be at that place. It's also important, to advocate for yourself. So rather than having things kind of, whether it's a safety concern or any other concern, um, linger, don't hesitate to reach out. My whole mission is to help people to advocate for themselves and utilize the resources that are there. So,
Yeah, I would echo all of that and just add that, like I know Jean said, research, research, research. Like the property, a lot of times I feel like students feel pressure to like sign something right now. It's like everything's gonna be full. But I can tell you as someone who collects occupancy from these properties that they are not filling up as quickly as they're telling you. So I just really think that just take your time. You want to find what feels like the right fit. And yeah, look at all of the different things that everybody like has mentioned about a property, like go there during different times of the day. Make sure you get a tour. If your, parent, family member, guarantor wants to see it too, like just take the time to do all of that. It's better to front end all of that and end up with something you're really happy with than to make like a snap decision and then you're locked into a legally binding contract, which is hard to get out of. It's not just like something you can just decide you want to change your mind about. It's like a really big decision. So yeah, I just encourage people to take their time and yeah, think about like what is most important to them, what are the non-negotiables, and kind of go from there.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you all for your expertise and your advice. And I know parents and families really appreciate it. I also would like to remind parents and families that on our Parent Family Experience portal, which you can get to through our New Student Family Programs website, we have other Temple Family Council members who have written articles about their own experiences dealing with leases and landlords and off-campus housing too. So that's a resource as well. If you're in the portal, you can look at those articles on there. So I wanted to just wrap things up by saying, unfortunately, that's all the time that we have today. I want to thank you so much. Thank you to our panelists for joining us and sharing their thoughts and their experiences and their expertise. You will see their contact information and emails on the screen here in just a moment. Okay. So if you have any more questions that you didn't have answered today or any follow-up information that you would like to learn about, please feel free to reach out to our panelists today. You can find all of their information and their websites and phone numbers on the screen. They're more than willing to answer any follow-up questions. In addition, we'll be posting the recording to this session along with the slide deck, as Leah mentioned earlier, and helpful links in the Parent and Family Experience portal shortly for your reference. It'll go out in the newsletter, but you can also visit the portal in the meantime also if you're interested in seeing it or sending it to a friend. It should be posted by the end of the week. I just want to thank everyone again for joining us. We hope you and your students have a great end to the spring semester as it's coming to a close. Thank you again for joining us. We really appreciate it. And we hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much, and we'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.